What is up, Dragon Ballers? As I stated in a previous video, talking about the breakdowns that we had for the Fusion World April 1st update today, they release the new event, which is an FB09, FS11, and FS12 Leader Locked Event. I'm going to break down our recommendations for each leader for this event, and by all means, you could take these decks and modify them to your liking. We're just providing a starting point from what we have done with a little bit of testing. We are also taking some assumptions here. Some of the assumptions that we are going to take is you have at least 2 of each promo, at least 2. You may have more, you may have less, but we're going to say you have at least 2 from the level up rewards. We're not talking about the bring a friend event, 6-drop Gogetas. We're only talking about the level up rewards. And getting 2 of these, you'll be around level 16. If you don't have these, not a big deal. You can sub out these cards for some cards that are either in set or from older sets themselves. Unfortunately, FB09 relies very heavily around their own SCRs and older SCRs from prior sets. So almost each in-set leader does contain multiple copies of these SCRs. If you don't have them, we suggest playing the cheaper alternatives of the starter decks, FS11 and FS12. To get all the cards for these, you could either purchase 2 code cards from TCG Player or another online marketplace for around $5 each. Or you could spend around 2,000 gems on buying 2 copies of the deck that you want to use. Up to you. But with that in mind, let's jump straight on in. So, our first deck, Gogeta BR, FB09-001. You may be asking yourself, what does this deck do? Well, the purpose of a Gogeta BR deck is to fusion evolve onto your copies of Gogeta using the fusion evolve keyword. The main purpose of the deck is to be basically as aggressive as possible. Your leader awakens at 5 or less life, you flip it over, and then basically on attack you draw 2, bottom deck 1 card from your hand. And then anytime you were to play a Fusion Evolve card during that turn, you could then activate your leader at some point and KO cards from your opponent's side of the field, where the total power of all the cards you're choosing to KO is 15,000 or less, which isn't that hard to do since you're red and you minus. The whole point of this deck is to play out one of your 3 Gogeta BRs while also utilizing your lesser Vekus to either damage their board or get pieces back for later fusions. Ultimately, you have a couple different win conditions. Being as aggressive as red is, you have 2 major win conditions. One being getting out your secret rare Gogeta BR, which has an alternative win condition of if your opponent is at 1 or less life and they have no battle cards in the battle area at the end of your turn, you win the game. So you be as aggressive as possible, getting them down to 1 life, and then you wipe their entire board, and then you have this Gogeta BR on your field at the end of your turn, and you automatically win the game. The other win condition is the normal win condition of just beating them down aggressively. On turn 3, you could get this Gogeta BR out by on turn 2 playing one of the 2 or one of the 3 targets that you have for the deck. So I would suggest probably playing this Son Goku BR. It allows you to minus something by 5k. Don't attack with it. Then hopefully it stays on board come the next turn. And that next turn you could go ahead and play out either this Vegeta to give both of them 5k. So then you have your leader 20k swing, 2 25k swings. And then you use your last energy to evolve onto it with this Gogeta BR, which then gives you 2 45k swings because power changes do stack on top of a evolve target. So this one would become a 45k and it attacks twice because one of the attacks, if your leader is a Gogeta BR, you switch it back to active mode. So that is leader swing, 2 25ks, and then 2 45k swings on turn 3, which most decks just cannot compete with. If you can't do that, you can always try to wipe board by playing this on turn 3 as well for free on the evolution. It doesn't cost you anything. and then when it attacks, it minuses something by 15k. So effectively, it can get rid of anything on the board that's a 30k or higher. Same thing when you play your secret rare later on in the match. It minuses everything by 25k on play. That gets rid of a 40k or higher on your opponent's side of the field using your leader effect to just KO. So that is the main way you win with Gogeta BR. And with that, we're going to move on to our next deck. Our next deck being Universe 7 Tournament of Power UI Goku. Now this deck is a little bit tougher of a deck to run. It's meant to awaken very early, like how Sin Shenron does from a couple sets prior. When your life is at 6 or less, and you have 7 or more universe cards in their special traits in your drop, flip the card over. Your main way of getting cards into your drop very early on in the game is by utilizing Great Priest on play. He costs 1, you put 3 cards from the top of your deck into your drop, and then on turn 2 you could play one of your lesser end cards, and each one of these has the effect of you discarding a card or milling top cards of your deck. So it's very easy to awaken with this leader, typically on turn 2. If your opponent is not attacking you and just forcing you to starve or try to self-awaken, that can be a little bit tough, but you do have this Son Goku who can self-awaken you. I believe you also have a couple of other cards in the deck as well that can help awaken you a tiny bit. Your main purpose as this UI Goku is to bottom deck your opponent's cards. Ways that you would be doing that is utilizing this Vegeta to help reduce cards down by cost. Therefore, your higher end Vegeta can go ahead and bottom deck 2 cards that are 4 or less and put them at the bottom of your opponent's deck. Now, the effect that comes with the leader on the backside has an auto of when you discard a card from your hand using the skills of either the Evolve or a card with Tournament of Power and its special traits. You draw 1 card for each card that gets discarded. Basically, every single card in this deck makes you discard a card outside of your cantrip draw 1s, your Kefla double strike, and your Kaba. Those ones don't have you really discard cards, but every other card in the deck has you discard cards in order to utilize their effects, which effectively means you're just cycling through your deck as quickly as possible. We added some tech into the deck as well. Kefla is your double striker, so you want to sneak this in turn 4, turn 5, depending on if you have the energy marker or not. This will be a 50k double striker on play, and no one's really ready for that. And then additionally, you have Divine Domain, which primarily you want to use this defensively, but if you're going in shotgunning for the game, this works fantastic in the deck because it is just a free cost card to get plus 15k. You discard 1, you draw 1, rinse and repeat. Hopefully when you discard 1 and then draw 1, you're drawing into a 10k or even your super combo, so it works both offensively and defensively. Ways that you can cycle cards back into your deck, since that happens to be one of the biggest issues with the deck, is that you mill yourself out, you discard too many cards, you're cycling too fast. You have both your Son Goku 6 drop, which is basically the way that you're going to be dealing a lot of damage to your opponent. You can get this out by turn 3, typically, as long as your 2 drop stays on the field. If not, turn 4 at the latest or at the earliest. You're going to evolve straight onto it, and it has the effect that you place 4 cards from your drop at the bottom of your deck in a random order. Then you can switch the target or redirect the target of the attack to this, or have this be the source of the attack. It's really weirdly worded, but ultimately all it's saying is anytime you attack or your opponent attacks once per turn, you can then redirect the attack via Son Goku. So if it's your turn, you can have him attack theoretically twice by having him on field, swing his 140k the first time. You can use his, you can then play a 1-drop like Zeno. Zeno has an effect as well that you pay 1, you can place 12 cards from the bottom, from your drop to the bottom of your deck to get rid of a 6 cost or less from your opponent's side of the field that is attacking into. So that's another way to cycle. But say you play this, and then you're going to play a 1-drop. That 1-drop can attack, and then you activate your Goku, and now Goku is the one attacking. So it's a cheap way to get like 240k swings into your opponent. But that's basically the purpose of this deck. Fairly straightforward deck, however, it takes a little bit more brain power to play just because of all the effects of discarding cards, cycling through your deck, trying to keep the math going of like how many copies do I have of a card in my deck? Am I running too low on my deck? Do I need to play Zeno? Do I need to play the Son Goku to start putting stuff back into my deck? So a little bit tough on the math there and sequencing. But still, overall, a pretty good deck and has shaped up pretty well in the overall meta currently. On to our next deck, Beast Gohan. Beast Gohan came out and has one of the best awakening conditions. Just as long as the leader has 2 or more ki, you draw a card, flip him over, so he can awaken at 8 life. There is a couple other decks that can technically awaken at 8 life, but this is a fantastic card nonetheless. On the backside, you get plus 5k on your turn, so he's permanently a 25k leader swing, so that means your opponent has to give up a 10k combo to defense to block the attack. And then when you're attacking, you draw a card and he gets a ki. This whole deck revolves around the keyword, technically. The reason I say that is because your big wombo combo at the end of the game when you're trying to win is you're going to be playing a special beam cannon for 1 energy in an activate battle where you remove all the ki from your leader. And for each ki that gets removed, you get plus 10k. And if 4 more ki got removed, then you can choose up to 1 Son Gohan SH in your battle area and switch it back to active mode. This is a nice wombo combo with the new SR from the set, which is a double strike 8-drop that on play, you can reduce the ki of your leader by 1, place an energy into your drop, and then you KO one of your opponent's cards. You can get an extra back to your hand, which can get you special beam cannon back to your hand, and then you also add up to 1 card cost of 3 or more from your drop to your energy back in active mode, which is basically setting up your special beam cannon anyway. So as long as your opponent, or as long as your leader has 4 ki or 5 ki, then you activate this effect, goes down to 4 ki. You're seeing a 50k double strike swing, then a minimum 60k swing from your leader, 65k because your leader has a plus 5. So 65k from the leader swing, and then that'll restand this 50k double striker. So you're going 50 double, 65 minimum, and then another 50 double into your opponent. That is definitely going to be your game-ending thing. We added some tech into this as well. We're adding the Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 SH. The reason why we're adding this is a turn 3 play or 3 energy play where you can just get a ki, and then he's also a 25k critical. Again, since he's a 25k and he's critical, your opponent's basically losing 1 card no matter what. They're either going to lose a card from their hand, that's a 10k combo, or they're going to just lose the life. The only one that doesn't matter in this situation is if you're going against Black Namekku. It has an ability to combo cards from the drop by removing ki. That's the only instance in which they're not really losing 1, but they are still losing a resource of sorts, and they're losing that ability to play again. We'll talk about that more when we review that deck. Outside of that, the main purpose of this is to try to get to 5 energy as quickly as possible. You can do that by the Son Gohan SH, where we'll have you ramp 2 energy. And I believe you can also use the Piccolo SH as well to try to help ramp you as well. But you're going to try to get to 5 energy at minimum. Then you're going to play either the promo card, where you can swing 20k, then put this into your drop as long as your leader has 3 or more ki. Then you play an 8-drop for free from your hand. And then you also have the inset version, which is a 30k, but it's a 0 combo, so that's why we went a little bit less on that, just because it's a 0 combo. Usually end the game if you're shotgunning for the win or trying to defend against your opponent. You're typically going to want to have more combo power, so that's why we only have 2 copies of him. But you can use this one or the promo. They both have the same effect, which will be able to get the 8-drop out on like your 5 energy turn. And you can go either into the older SCR or you can go into the new SR wombo combo with the special beam cannon. That's the main focus of the deck. Everything else is trying to get these cards or save face to an extent. But that's Beast Gohan for you. on to the next deck, we have Yellow Gogeta. Now, Yellow Gogeta is the second of the 3 Gogetas that got released in this set. Basically, this leader and another leader have the same deck format, except with this leader, you awaken at 4 or less life, which is a bit weak in the current format because a lot of decks like to awaken at high life, but this one awakens at 4 or less. You draw a card, you flip it over. On the backside, you can activate main once per turn, switch one of your cards with another world in its special traits in the battle area to rest mode, choose up to one card with another world and switch it to active mode. So basically, you have a built-in dual attacker on your side of the field as long as you have at least 2 cards on your field. Otherwise, you're just switching one card to rest and switching it back to active mode. But basically, this gives you built-in dual attack. And the reason why you want built-in dual attack is a couple reasons. One, your SCR. The Gogeta SCR is such a good card for this game. Unfortunately, it is also a really bad card for the game. The reason I say it's a bad card for the game is because you have infinite life. It has a permanent effect that basically says as long as it's on the field, if you would lose the game because your life became 0 or this got KO'd by your opponent's skill, you can add it to your life instead. So if it gets KO'd by an effect, bye-bye, it goes into your life. You can get it again. Or if it's on your field and someone shotguns you for game, you just go, okay, I'll take it. Gogeta goes straight into my life. I do not lose the game. And you can kind of recur that over and over and over again as long as you keep drawing or you end up seeing multiple copies of Gogeta. On attack, though, it allows you to switch every single one of your opponent's cards in their battle area into rest mode, and then you switch one of your energy back to active mode. Having this have dual attack, not only are you switching everything your opponent has into rest mode, you can then start clearing their board, but you're also switching basically 2 energy back to active mode, which allows you to play more cards. The only issue is that getting him out will be at least a turn 3 play if everything plays correctly. If not, probably turn 4, turn 5 at the latest, or the second earliest that you can kind of see him hitting the field with the deck. The reason why I say he costs 3 and it's going to be like a turn 3 play is because he can really only evolve on top of the Son Goku Vegeta card. And getting this card out and sticking until your next turn, against red, kind of hard. Against some other decks, it is a 2-drop. 2-drops aren't very safe in the game, and especially it's a 20k. Again, not the safest card in the game, but still, it's a good card. This allows you to self-awaken, you attack, and then you can switch it back to active mode, so you can attack, and then it comes back to active mode, can attack again, which means it's kind of safe from being targeted by getting attacked come next turn. So it's a bit safe, but it can still be minus off the board or KO'd by an effect. Other than that, you got a couple other evolved targets which come from the starter deck, which we'll talk when we hit the starter deck. But you got a Son Goku that can evolve on top of a Son Goku. This is basically a built-in dual attacker in and of itself. When you do its effect, you draw a card and then it'll die at the end of the turn. But if you can get 2 30k swings off of this, or even off of your Vegeta Evolve 2 30k swings, pretty fantastic, especially because you can get this off at turn 2 at the earliest. You can play 30k, and then from then on, you're dual attacking with 30ks, which is fantastic early game pressure. Now, we did have to add the tech, which is now going to be in every yellow deck moving forward of Blue Power Awakening, because of that activate main effect of being able to just KO a 6 or more cost card on your opponent's side of the field. You can also use this offensively or defensively to get a plus 25k for the battle. But yeah, that is basically the Gogeta deck. Get out your Gokus, get out your Gogeta, basically get out your evolved targets as quickly as possible, have another card on field that you can keep switching into rest mode to untap to get a dual attack and kind of profit off of that. Our next deck is our last Gogeta of the set, the last leader of FBL9 before we get into the starter decks, which is Gogeta GT. This deck is also a awaken at 8 lives if possible. It does have 2 awakening conditions that you can possibly do when your life is at 4 or less, or you have 2 or more ki. So this deck also does revolve around ki. However, this deck revolves around ki in the battle area, not on the leader, which differs from Beast Gohan, which focuses it all on the leader. On the backside, As long as you have 3 or more ki in the battle area, you are a 30k base. So basically on your turn, you give a card plus 2 ki. So as long as you had 1 other ki on the field, you are now basically a 30k swing because it is a permanent effect, not a on attack effect check. So basically, you play a card, you get a card with ki, you then swing with leader. Leader's a 30k base. Very devastating pressure very early on, and even late game. A 30k late game still is very, very hurtful. That's at least 1 or 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. It's either a super combo, an extra of sort, or it's a 10k plus. Again, on attack, you draw a card, and then you give a card with GT in its card name, plus 2 ki. The deck basically revolves around GT cards other than Para Brothers, but Para Brothers you're really only using to stop or stun lock your opponent's cards in place by expending your energy marker. That's the tech that we added into this. The other tech is Ultimate Sparking. There are a lot of cards that are high cost that you just need to kind of get rid of or deny your opponent from attacking. So if your opponent isn't thinking correctly in their sequencing, or they're not sequencing correctly overall, you can really hit them hard with an Ultimate Sparking by making their big giant cards not able to attack, which can be helpful, can keep you alive for a turn. The main purpose of this deck is to get your draw engine on field, Son Gohan GT. Once he's on field, never attack with him. He'll have at least 3 or more ki. And then at the end of your turn, as long as he's still in your battle area and you have a total of 3 or more ki, you draw a card. So he's your main draw engine for the deck. The other big pieces are playing your Gogeta GT. There are 3 costs that will ultimately evolve into the 4 costs off its activate main, where you get rid of 2 ki. You get rid of 2 ki off of this card and this card, you draw 1, and then you play a 4 cost Gogeta GT from your hand. This card survives against blue because it adds 1 to the cost for each ki under it, and then on your turn it gets plus 5k additionally for each ki that it has on it. So once this card has 4 ki, that's plus 20k. This becomes a 50k base on your turn, but plus like having 4 ki, that is now an 8 cost card, which is really tough to get rid of. However, yellow can still get rid of it using Blue Power Awakening, so it's kind of a double-edged sword in that case. Unfortunately, it doesn't get the power boost on your opponent's turn, so it's just a 30k on your opponent's turn, which red could easily deal with. Activate main, you can give him a ki, and then you can make yourself an energy marker. Your other big piece is the Son Goku GT 4 cost, where on play and on attack it gets plus 1 ki, but the main spice of this card, the main sweet spot, the good soup part, is this activate main once per turn. You can remove 1 or more of your ki. It doesn't have to be from him, it could be from any of your cards. You just have to remove ki, and then you get to choose all battle cards in your opponent's battle area with a cost less than or equal to the amount of ki you removed by the skill, and KO them. And then you get plus 10k for every card you KO'd. Imagine your opponent going a little too wide. Say you're up against Golden Frieza, plays a lot of 2-drops. Ginyu plays a lot of 2-drops. You go against like Black Namekku, he plays a lot of 2 or 3 costs. You play him, he gets a ki. Your leader swings, he gets plus 2 more ki. You got 3 ki, hopefully you got more ki on the field. You activate his effect, remove all the ki that you have, KO everything on your opponent's side of the field, board wiping them, and then you get like a 70k swing. The final spice of the deck is the Gogeta GT. I highly recommend you play at least 3 copies, if not 4 copies of this card, because this is your game-winning card of the deck. Unfortunately, you do kind of have to pay 6 for this. There's no way to cheat it out like some of the other decks. However, it's got a spicy skill. When you attack, you draw 2 and you get a ki, and you get an energy marker. The keyword here, you place an energy marker. It's not you play one if you don't have one, you just get one. So you don't even need to have an energy marker. You could have an energy marker and this goes, oh, here's another. Then, as long as you have 4 or more ki and you remove 4 ki from you, and you place all other battle cards in the battle area other than him, and 6 of your energy at the bottom of your deck, you take an extra turn. I know that may sound scary, I mean you're losing a ton of resources, but think of it this way. You play this card for 6 energy, you attack, You draw 2. You got an energy marker. So you're already at 6 plus 1 energy marker. You activate the effect. You get rid of all your energy. You're now just down to 1 energy marker. You end your turn. Your next turn starts immediately. You draw a card. You play an energy. And then you got 2 energy. You got energy plus an energy marker. You swing with this card again. You draw 2 cards. You get a third energy. You get a second energy marker. So now you're at 3 energy. You play this any later, or you use the effect while you have higher energy before you take the extra turn. You got more energy to play with come next turn, which is fantastic. I mean, and that's like 3 energy if you didn't already have an energy marker. If you already had an energy marker and you do the effect, you're at 4 energy come your next turn, which can pop off and give you the, either the Son Goku or the Vegeta. If you're at 3, you can go Vegeta into a Vegeta. I mean, there's a lot of tech to this deck, and it works very, very well. The only issue, the deck's kind of slow. You're paying for cost on a ton of the cards. You're not benefiting as much as the other decks. So of all the Gogeta decks, this is probably the slowest, but also the spiciest. Let's move on to our first starter deck. So the starter deck leader FS1101. This card seems scary at first. So on attack, you draw 1, and then at the end of your turn, you take a life. You self-awaken off your own leader, kind of like how Broly BR did. The other scary part is your awakening condition. When your life is at 4 or less, you draw a card, then you self-awaken again. You take another card from your life. So when you awaken, you're already at 3 life. So on the backside of your leader, you're at 3 life for the remainder of the game. Yellow doesn't have a way of getting more life outside of the SCR Gogeta, basically being able to stay alive, but that's it. The good thing about this leader is it's auto once per turn. When you have 3 or more rest mode energy, and you play a card with 20 to 30k power and evolve, you switch 2 of your energy back to active mode. Now that means you can play a card with evolve, 20 to 30k, you can hard cast it, and then you immediately untap 2 energy. Or you can use the evolve skill cost and untap 2 energy. So you could pay 2 to evolve this. If you have 3 or more tapped down when you evolve, you just untap 2. Basically, this was played for quote-unquote free. Other good things that you can see about it as well. We heavily use the Valkyrie here, but this kind of looks like the same deck as the Gogeta yellow deck that we saw earlier. The only main difference is you're not really running the Gogeta SCR. It's not as useful in the deck because it won't proc your leader effect. But we are running Kamehameha from the starter deck, which is a sneaky way of getting a double strike plus 25k. You can set this up fairly easily with the untap 2. So say you're at 4 energy, you play your 30k dual attacker Son Goku, it untaps 2 for you, you're now at 3 energy, you got 2 swings, you could try to get your opponent down to 2 life. If you do, you could then swing again, pay 3, and have this do a double strike plus 25k and then combo out from your hand for game. That's kind of what we're doing here. Our other tech for this is Kui. Kui allows you to have a blocker, and then when it gets KO'd, you choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to rest mode. That's a way to kind of stop your opponent from attacking. We also utilize the Go Tanks from the starter deck as well. So as long as you have a evolve card in your hand, you can play this for 2, and it'll basically just stun a card that your opponent has. So it can't attack next turn. You can't switch back to active mode. So that's also pretty good. We're running the ability to switch cards into rest mode Vegeta, kind of like how you had the Pure Evil Majin Buu or the old Frieza. So it works out very well in that regard as well. But yeah, for the most part, this is basically the same exact deck as the yellow Gogeta deck. They're meant to be roughly the same deck, interchangeable leaders, kind of like how all the Buu leaders were interchangeable leaders. And your main stick is still the same thing. You want to get your evolved targets out on field as quickly as possible and aggro for game. You want to hit your opponent as quickly as possible. This deck is probably getting you a turn 4, turn 5 win if you're very aggressive, and your opponent also has to awaken at 4 or less life. Onto our final deck that we kind of recommend is Black Namekku. Now this is the cheapest deck you could build for this event. This is basically a carbon copy of one of the top decks that just won at Melbourne, I believe. Took the entire event. It's 2 starter decks stuck together. It is that simple. Every card in this deck outside of Son Goku GT here, which you need 3 of, all we're saying is, hey, have 3 of them. Every other card is the starter deck. So pay 2,000 gems, stick 2 decks to stick both those starter decks together, toss in Son Goku GT, and boom, you got the deck. The point of this deck, again, is to get Ki out on the field. This kind of needs Ki on the leader, but it could be kind of anywhere because you utilize Ki anywhere in this for this leader. And by that I mean the activate battle once per turn effect that's on the back side of the leader. You remove 1 or more of your Ki. For each Ki you removed, you can use a battle card from your drop in a combo, as long as it's got Planet Namek. So this leader is kind of locking a lot of your deck down. You can't really do too much in that regard. But every single card in this deck is a Planet Namek card outside of the Son Goku GT. So you got that effect. You also got the wombo combo of Nail and Piccolo early on. You play Nail, you swing with Nail, Nail's a 15k. He doesn't do anything else. And then you immediately pay 1 to play the Piccolo 25k. 25 is a bit tougher to get rid of because leaders are only 20, so you typically have to combo up to get into hitting Piccolo. So if your opponent wants to swing into a 25k, it's a little bit tougher to do because they always have to combo up unless they have a card that is a 25k or higher. But basically, Piccolo puts Nail into the drop, then your leader gets +1 Ki and you draw a card. Now, if you hard cast this, you still get the effect of +1 Ki and drawing a card, but you're not required to put Nail into the drop. Nail only goes into the drop if you are paying for the reduced cost, basically. Outside of that, you got a couple draw ones. You have your Awakeners. You play Guru turn 1, swap it to rest mode, give your leader a Ki. You can play that turn 2. I would suggest probably playing Krillin turn 2. On attack, on KO, your leader gets +1 Ki. The main purpose of this deck is to either get so much Ki on your leader on the field so that you can play Son Goku GT to board wipe and swing out for a game at very high costs. The other main thing is you can play the 7 cost critical Goku, that as long as you have 3 or more Ki, he's a 3 cost in hand rather than being a 7 cost in hand. And as long as you don't have already a copy of him on the board. He's a 45k crit. A lot of people aren't really going to try to combo out of that because that is at least a super combo plus 10k, which is really tough to kind of combo out of because you gotta ditch 2 cards to potentially not lose a card. I'd much rather just lose a card out of my life than have to combo 2 cards. But the big wombo combo with this is if you play the Son Gohan Youth, not only does your leader get a Ki, but on activate battle, you can place 4 or more Ki, or you can, if you have 4 or more Ki, you could place this card into the drop, and then any Son Goku that's currently in a battle now just gets double strike. So you're swinging a 7 cost 45k card into your opponent's life. You have the Son Gohan on field, you have 4 or more Ki, you pop the Son Gohan off the field, you give your 7 cost 45k crit double strike, so now it's a double strike crit. Then you can activate your leader effect backside, get rid of all the combo power, or get rid of all the Ki off your board, off your leader, off everywhere. You combo freely everything you have from the drop based off the Ki you used. You're typically seeing a shotgun value of at least 130,000, if not more. Most people really can't survive that kind of swing. And you can kind of pop that off as early as turn 3. Not the double strike, but the double strike could be turn 4. You can at least get the 45k on turn 3 if you play your cards right. But yeah, again, these are my decks that I recommend for the leader event. We are taking the assumption that you have at least 2 promo cards. Your cheapest option here is going to be your FS12 Son Goku deck. And of all the decks that we just showcased, our personal ranking is going to be the Gogeta BR leader. We're going to see the SS3 Son Goku leader, and then we're going to see this Black Namekku leader. Those are our top 3 that we're thinking for this event. One, the Gogeta BR, very destructive to the board, has an alternate win condition, and I mean that's basically it. You know, it has a way to destruct your opponent's board, alternate win condition, very aggressive. That's perfect. That's like a perfect triangle that you want to see in a meta competitive deck, especially in this format. Son Goku SS3 that we saw previously, it has ways to self-awaken really quickly. The only downside, you're at 3 life, but you're evolving every single turn. Starting from turn 2, you're going to have a 30k on board. That is immense pressure on your opponent, and then every single time you evolve from turn 3 on, or play a card with evolve turn 3 on, you're untapping 2, meaning you could play more cards. You have more things you could potentially do. That's why I rank SS3 a little bit above the yellow Gogeta. Black Namekku, like I said, the wombo combo. You play the 7 cost on turn 3. On turn 4, you could do the Son Gohan double strike 45k double crit into leader. Very aggressive. You can use your leader effect to try to combo offensively and defensively. It's just an activate battle once per turn. It's not activate main, so you can do it on both your turn and your opponent's turn. Outside of that, the other 4 decks that we did talk about are all kind of tied for 4th place in our opinion. The one that I could see could squeak out on top, Beast Gohan. You're playing 8 cost 50ks, which are nearly impossible to try to get rid of in this format. So that's another good one. Our least that we're seeing right now is Gogeta GT. Gogeta GT versus Gogeta BR. Gogeta BR wins, 8 out of 10 times, it seems. The ability to just destroy their field, because that's where their key exists, that's what the deck revolves around, they're going to have a tough time. But outside of that, guys, that's our recommendations for this event. I thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.